Thank you very much for joining us. This is the pre-formal curriculum launch run by myself, Jessica Mabbott, pre-formal department lead, and Amy Schofield, the curriculum lead as well. Amy's helping me just run through the PowerPoint, so she might pop up on the screen, but as you go through you might hear a disembodied voice, and that's just Amy talking.
Okay.
Right, so we're going to move on to the next screen, please, Amy.
Okay, can you see about the intent, implementation and impact?
No, if you could start what we can see is the original slide, so the welcome to pre-formal curriculum.
Emma, what's happening? I'm moving it forward and it's not changing.
Okay, so
hang on, let me stop and start again. And
there we go. Okay.
Can you see it there?
No, it's gone now, Amy. If you relaunch it, and then if you play slideshow from beginning, I don't know whether you did access that.
I did that. What I might do is keep it like this so you can see it for definite.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, we can see it. Brilliant.
Lovely.
So just talking about our intent for the curriculum, that's really what we want our curriculum to do for our young people, our students, and how we want to help support them. The implementation, when we talk about that, that's going to be how are we going to do that, how are we going to make our curriculum successful within Sevendale. And then when we talk about impact, we're actually talking about how will we know that we have been successful, how will we know that the young people, the students, have got the most out of our curriculum and achieved what our intentions were at the beginning. Thank you. So just as a reminder, you might not be aware, but our mission statement in Sevendale, so that's a tagline that we use for everybody, is that everyone feels valued, everyone's included, and everyone is learning in whatever way that they learn. That's our mission statement, as we call. So our intent with the curriculum, the main aim is to provide our students with a dynamic learning experience across different contexts, supporting their sensory needs to develop independence and ability to access the wider community for us. We want them to be able to support our students to develop confidence as well and becoming effective communicators using their preferred method of communication. So I think you can really see we're zeroing in on how individual it is for our students, for your children, and how it has to be reflective of what they want to do and what they're able to do as well, and making sure that they're supported in the best possible way to get that communication so they can really communicate what their needs and wants are. Values that we promote within the school. So as you can see that, I won't read that all to you, but respect is a high one, kindness and happiness, equality. So we've got those key values that we try and promote every day within whatever we do, whatever activity we're doing, we're promoting those values as we proceed. Thanks, Amy. So we have areas of focus within our curriculum. So these are areas that we kind of dive a bit deeper into. So again, I won't talk through all of these, but I'll just choose a couple to focus on. And on the document we'll show you later, all the overview will be there as well. So we talk about independent skills. So we want to promote independence across all aspects of the school. Social skills, developing skills to communicate and interact with others, really high on the list, and communication skills to support and promote the preferred method of communication. So that could be symbols, that could be signing, that could be verbal or gestures. It depends on how they communicate. iPads as well, eye gaze, using technology to support our students and what they access. We obviously, with the impact of COVID, mental health is a very big aspect of what we consider and an area that we focus on. So we've got a lot going on with pastoral support and well-being support as well. So we are just looking at mental health, so promoting positive mental health and supporting our young people to develop strategies and reliance for the future as well. Amy, is there anything on there that you would like to kind of focus or highlight?
I'd like to talk about the personal skills. So with our personal skills, a lot of that is embedded holistically. So whatever we're doing in our day, kind of like what used to be called kind of PSHE. So all lessons that are kind of focusing around your young person, so that helps them to find out who they are, what they like, knowing that they are an individual as opposed to their peers and the adults in their room. Our personal skills they're embedded through the curriculum, and then when our students move into secondary school, that then becomes more a standalone lesson as well. So there's that greater focus to prepare them for that transition when they move from secondary into sixth form and further on throughout their kind of school life and future time, really. And our communication skills, we link very closely with the speech and language team for students who are on their caseloads. And it's a way that the teachers and the TAs, all of our staff, can really kind of upskill themselves in how to best support with those communication needs. As Jess was saying, that might be through the use of PECs and the use of symbolised communication. Makaton is obviously used consistently throughout the school because we do use a total communication approach. It can also be objects of reference to help understand what's happening with the order of the day, photographs of reference, and more recently, certainly for our students in profound and for some of our complex students as well, the introduction of look to talk, encouraging that the eye pointing to support with their communication as well. Okay, I'll move on to the next one.
Thank you, Amy. So we are going to talk about implementation. So how do we move forward with these intentions? The best of intentions, sometimes we need to think about the practicality of how we support with that. So our approach to our learning is that it's multidisciplinary. As Amy was talking about, we have a lot of input from lots of different agencies into specific support for specific students, and that's taken into account obviously with how we tackle the day and the learning and different sessions and what it looks like. We have high expectations of our learners, and we really try and encourage them to move forward with their progress as much as possible. As you can see there's lots of different things that we do utilise. I think one of the key aspects is the consistent approach to teaching and behaviour. There's been a big drive this year, certainly, to kind of promote how we promote behaviour communication and how we support with that, and make it really consistent across all the academy, but especially with our complex classes and even our PMLD classes. So there is a really consistent approach with our understanding and how our support staff are supporting our young people. And you know, we do this through kind of timetable sessions as well. So you'll notice we've got this change of department, and when we send home timetables or when we send home kind of anything else that might be talking about, for example, the EHCP, we might have an area that we call My Communication. That's just a really holistic approach to things that might have been called English or oh, help me out here, Amy.
Yeah, so it's all of the bits that used to be called English or literacy. So our My Communication sessions include our sharing of sensory stories, intensive interaction, music, choice making. All of those areas come under our lessons that are called My Communication. My Thinking, that is our early problem solving skills. Sharon and Paul, you might remember this, on our old timetables used to be called problem solving. But now it's called My Thinking. It also includes creative aspects of thinking. So our sensory art, our computer technology, all of those areas with our early math skills all comes under My Thinking. My Independence speaks for itself really to a degree. It's all about encouraging and promoting our students to be as independent as they can be. This includes the development of choice making so that they've got that greater autonomy over themselves and their environment. My Body is all about our physical skills. That can be developing fine motor skills, gross motor skills, including physiotherapy targets for our students in our complex classes. This also includes sensory integration and the use of resources such as the motion sensory room, the swimming pool, rebound therapy. Obviously at the moment all of these things are a little bit more restricted with COVID, but in a post-COVID world, these are the areas that will be encompassed within that. And then me and my community involves things about the students' immediate environment, so not only about themselves, but their classroom environment, their familiarity with their room, the adults and the peers in that room, people who help them, so our wider colleagues, for example, the nursing team, the physio team, the speech and language team. It also includes forest school and outdoor learning, so it's all about their local area and the environment most familiar to them. Okay, Jess?
Thank you, Amy. That was great coverage. I just want to add in just within some of those aspects. So they would have been, for example, numeracy or maths. You did mention it briefly, but that would be in my thinking, and science as well. That's kind of reflectively looking across my thinking in my body. So the headings are very broad, encompassing lots of these different previous headings that we used to have. But it just means that we can teach a little bit more holistically and really push through those targets, EHEP targets, across the board with our teaching. On here as well, on the implementation, you can see that we've got specialist roles. So we have the physiotherapists that obviously they're on site and they support young people through the NHS and support giving us support within the classroom, how we can support our young people. With pastorals on site as well. So as I said, behaviours support has had a massive push this year with COVID and the impact on well-being. You know, we're really trying to push that area to make sure that the students are being as successful as they can be. Speech and language therapist, so Dilys, you might be familiar with, and she works really closely with the class teachers, as Amy discussed earlier, so that's really inputted into our learning in the classroom. And also an OT, we have lots of referrals that we put through for the OT. They come into class. We also always give them access so that they can see what the students like in school and have those professional discussions with those specialist roles, which is really important. We just wanted to highlight about sports and what might be called real PE. So there are the different aspects that fall into my body sessions, and they're just key aspects of the curriculum that we have to kind of fit into our pre-formal department curriculum. And really importantly, we've got things like rebound and yoga, but the warm water session as well, and ATP, which is more for the PMLD students, if I'm correct in saying that, Amy.
Yeah, it's an approach that's been supported through the Special Olympics, and it's all about those kind of key skills on striking, dexterity and mobility.
So they fall into our my body sessions, but you might see that some of the information you have home is about real PE, and that's just under the heading of my body. When we talk about our teaching and learning support, so how do we manage to plan for all these different areas, and how do we manage to make sure that there's consistency across the academy? We utilise what we call TLRs. So they're really the teaching learning roles. So they are normally headed by a teacher who has responsibility for that specific area. So, for example, on there we've got STEAM, which is science, ICT, behaviour, communication as well, SMSE, PSHE, PE, extended schools, and also Amy's role as pre-formal curriculum lead. So all that kind of information, trying to get as consistent approach as possible, is managed by lots of different people, and it supports us making sure that the curriculum is as developed and useful as possible for our students. I think I'm right in saying that, aren't I?
You are, yeah. It's very much, we make sure that it's broad and balanced, that we cover anything statutory that we need to have covered, and that we, where possible, there is a loose thread that links with the rest of the school to allow for those kind of inclusion opportunities with students through the other departments as well. Oh, Jess, I can't hear you. I don't know if you're just quiet or...
Oh, Amy, I did that the other day and I ended up talking for 10 minutes before someone told me, so thank you. There's quite a lot to it, to our implementation, and I think it demonstrates itself that we need that sort of working together approach. and as Amy identified, so to make sure that the curriculum is broad and balanced. Amy, can we move on to the impact? So the impact is what we want to see. So as professionals, what we're looking to make sure that all these things that we're putting in place is working and ensuring that that young person is being successful. So we make sure that we have a framework in place. Students in PMLD access Routes for Learning, and they have been for years, but we also are now accessing AET, which is the Autism Education Trust. And that's an assessment framework. And we made that move because we felt that that really showed and balanced out what our students could move forward with and gave them practical skills and practical functions so that they can be as successful as possible. And we, you know, we had lots of discussions around making that move. And this year, I think it's been very successful. As we move forward, I hope it continues to be successful, but that's what we look at to make sure our students are making progress and achieving goals set. We also have the EHCP long-term targets, which and the medium-term targets, which is a bit like our Bible. So that's our real base for what we're trying to push through and make sure what the targets are for our students in the classroom and out of the classroom. Communication is looked at as a whole. So we, you know, always, all our targets, especially from the EHCP, link into communication, whatever method of communication that is. That could be eye pointing, that could be verbalizing, that could be using symbols. So we're always trying to make sure that the students are developing and progressing using their communication, and in that way it's to aid them developing their social skills as well in different opportunities. A lot with the pre-formal curriculum. This year's been very different because of COVID. Damn that COVID. But with pre-formal curriculum, our learning, we don't want it just to be functional in the classroom. We want it to be functional everywhere. We want the students that are communicating successfully in the classroom to be able to do that maybe in a more distracting environment in the corridor, in the shop, in the playground, so that when they're at home as well, they can cope and manage with those challenges and communicate effectively as well. Anything to add to that, Amy?
No, I think you've done that really well. I think it is that transference of skills that's really important for our young people.
Just with the personal development as well, we want them to develop awareness of self and be able to regulate their emotions, again, in different areas. So we focus a lot in the classroom, but because we access specialist rooms and different areas and go to the shops, we want them to take those skills that we develop in the classroom out and about, so that when they're at home as well, they have that awareness of themselves, and it can aid in their regulation. Or the skills or tools that we use in school, we want to make sure that are available for home so that they can use them at home as much as possible. Anything to add to that, Amy?
No, you've summed that one up.
Okay, so impact, how will we measure our progress? So this is what we are accountable for within the school. So we use an app called EFL, which is called Evidence for Learning, and we take jazzy little photos on iPads, and it's an app that links up to parents as well, so we can send home pictures, because we've identified our young people can't always go home and tell their parents what's happened in school, and with the best will in the world, sometimes an email or a paragraph in the homeschool book doesn't really sum it up. And actually for parents, it's really nice to be able to see a picture and see how they're doing during the school day and what they're enjoying. So we've been starting to use that app. That's been rolled out, and parents are starting to be able to access those pictures as well from class. So we've had really positive feedback so far, and we plan to continue it and get different ways of using it. Some of the aspects are quite exciting, like we can take videos as well. So maybe in the future we can work with other professionals like SALT or physio to take videos using EFL, so that then parents can see directly what's happening in school and what they could use at home as well. So I think that would be absolutely fantastic. We also have learning walks. So we have specific times where SLT, SMT, or just specific people will go on a reflective walk throughout school, pop into a class if it's non-COVID and just kind of go, oh, this is working really well, this isn't working so well, and give feedback so that we're constantly being reflective in our practice. Our discussions between the staff, students, the families, we're always trying to make sure that there's progress there. Just so you're aware, we have weekly behaviour meetings. So by that, we look at the data every week from behaviour, and we have discussions as a group in SMT to say what's happening, what do we need to put in place. So we're constantly trying to be reflective of what's happening and what needs to be put in place for support. We also have a weekly meeting where the TLRs are involved, making sure that everything is moving forward, and if there's any issues, what can be done to support. We have parent surveys, which are really important to kind of get feedback. A lot of the time we get informal feedback by email, but the parent surveys really do give us a chance to see anonymously, oh, I can't say the word, without any sort of pressure on the parents, how they feel about things and how they feel things will work. So it's really important to get that engagement for us, because it gives us a really clear overview of what parents are feeling and how that impacts on what we need to put in place. Routes for Learning, we've already discussed. I know, Sharon, you're probably quite familiar with that, with Amy. And it's a great learning tool. So that's something that we measure progress against. So it's like AET, it's a framework that we use. And we do lesson observations. So we're doing reflective lesson observations at the moment. I'm sure with COVID, you can understand it's very difficult. We can't get people going into the classroom just without the reason when we can do something else. So we're doing reflective lesson observations using videos that they'll be deleted, but they're just used by the class teacher to reflect on their practice, and that's been quite good engagement. We also look at kind of the EHCP outcomes, which is constantly, we're using the medium-term targets. They're out in the classroom. We know what this young person is aiming towards and how we move forward with that. Classroom Monitor is just a tool that we use to monitor progress. So that's where our kind of frameworks fall into, and that's the online thing that we tick off to say, oh yes, this person is moving across this scale, this standard, so we know that they're moving forward. Anything else to add to that, Amy? Because I've just
I'd like to just briefly mention engagement model, please. Some of you may or may not be aware that a couple of years ago, a big review was undertaken to look at P levels. Our students were used to look at their progress related to P levels. You may be familiar with that term. You might have heard that your young person was working perhaps at a P2 or a P6 or a P7. And actually, like from September, P levels aren't being used anymore, and something that will be statutory for our young people that were working in all terms, if you like, from a P4 and below, will be assessed against something called the engagement model. And this is something where some research has been carried out to look at how a student engages and how that impacts on them being ready to learn and kind of develops kind of new skills through their engagement. And it looks at elements such as anticipation. There is guidance in terms of how to observe and how to record the observations that we make of our young people. As of yet, it seems to be very much up to schools to decide on the frequency that this is done. I attended some training on it a couple of months ago and asked the question on what everybody else was doing. And at the moment, it does seem a little bit that schools can make their own decision on that. It's something that will be statutory from September. So something that I'll be working on over the next half term to get ready and in place. And it's something that I'm sure we'll be asking for the input of parents. You know, you families know our young people better than anybody, and so to get your input into that will be hugely appreciative. So I'm sure we will be in touch at some point before September or during the September term. Okay. And I think that's everything, Jess. Jess, pop your mic on.
Thank you. Basically, all that detail will be within one document. So it's something that myself and Amy have worked on, haven't we, Amy?
We have.
So it'll be something that's consistent across all the departments as well, which will be lovely. Just from the overview, so all parents will have a very similar overview of what everything is and what everything means. So this is just really a breakdown of that, and it just gives a really clear kind of demonstration of what's in place for your children. We've got a question, but if you want to share any questions now, that would be absolutely fantastic. So we've got a question about SMSC. So SMSC stands for Spiritual, Moral, Social and Cultural Development, and it's something that we have to do as a part of sort of guidelines from the government. Oh, sorry, my screen disappeared then. And it's something that we put in place just to build views around RE and the world around the young person. And it's something that we record as well to make sure that things are happening. So when we have those specific days, they fall into our SMSC coverage. Am I missing anything, Amy, out of that?
Predominantly, SMSC is covered through our assemblies. So you may see on kind of our weekly update newsletters, we might say that we've been looking at World Water Week or a particular awareness week that's taken place, and all of that builds towards our SMSC, our understanding of what it's like to be a citizen within the world, incorporating our British values as well.
Is there anything else that has come up from there that anyone has a question about? I can see the conversation. Oh, thank you. You're welcome, Sharon. If you do have any questions or follow-up questions that you might not think of now, please just drop us an email. So I know Sharon, you've probably got Amy's email. Marie, if you need to get in contact or question, I'll pop my email on the chat function.
I'll do that now.
Thank you, Amy. So just drop us a line and I'll try and answer any sort of questions. I hope that's been helpful, just giving you a breakdown of what the pre-formal curriculum department looks like and why we've kind of moved across. And I'm very excited about the future for the department, definitely.
I've just one question while I'm on. The curriculum this year, is there anything different from previous curriculums? Anything new that's been added in technology-wise or anything like that? Because I know the technology that's used is excellent at Sevendale. I just wondered if Rowan's not been there for such a long time.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if there's anything new that he can be looking forward to when he comes back.
The biggest change really, Sharon, is that we now work entirely as a thematic approach. So we have different topics each half term that we focus on, and all of our planning encompasses that topic so that the children are immersed within a topic for a half term. It's not that they're coming in and perhaps their sensory stories are based on, I don't know, for example, the jungle, but then we're doing something on space. There isn't that kind of mishmash throughout the school week for the term. So each term there is a topic focus. That's the biggest change this year. We've worked already on getting all of our topics in line for next year as well. So we know what sort of areas are coming up to help prepare us. And that preparation will involve enabling us to look at any educational visits or any enrichment opportunities of things that we can bring into the school to help enhance the delivery of that learning for our students. Technology wise, things are kind of the same this year as when Rowan was last in. We still have our eye gaze technology for experiencing cause and effect and for leisure use. The speech and language team have brought in Look to Talk, and our communication chat books for that have arrived. So when Rowan is back into school, he'll be kind of restarting on all of these bits and pieces again. My understanding is that you're doing an absolutely incredible job at home from what I've heard. So well done. It's not easy for you, but you're doing incredible. So I think really for Rowan, the biggest change really is just that everything is all under lovely themes.
I think as well, and just on that, it's just a bit more consistent as well, Sharon. So across the PMLD and the complex classes, the consistency about the approach is it's a bit more consistent this year. So and we've had some challenges with COVID, but next year, you know, we're going to have the pool open, no COVID, hopefully, you know, as things move forward, and we get back to that sense of normality, everything will feel a bit new and a bit different.
I mean, I didn't know what happened pre-COVID because I wasn't in the classroom, but obviously it's a new thing, but it's really good. Hilary sends us the timetable every week in advance, and what story is going to be covered, what topic, and that theme is followed all week, which involves the crafts, activities and all sorts. And I found that, sorry, Paul's on a call on the other thing, and I found that really useful. It says because I say we didn't know what went on before COVID. COVID's actually been quite good to us because we can see what Rowan's doing at school more, as opposed to just sending them in and then, you know, at the end of the term you get a wallet back with loads of craft things in it, and you think, oh, I don't know when you did that, but you obviously did it on one day. So we've quite enjoyed the following week by week the different topics and how the activities relate to the topics. It's been useful. I've quite enjoyed it. We really enjoyed it. And then
that's really good
longer term crafty things that you do as well over a longer period, for like a term challenge for him to do something over a longer period of time. It's been good. I've really enjoyed actually.
We've had good fun.
In fact, I think I'm going to put on a little school uniform and come in with Rowan next time because I've quite enjoyed it.
Sharon, you wouldn't want to leave. It's great fun.
I'm in the wrong job. I should have.
We're always smiling because we just have the most lovely time here at school.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your time. Really appreciate it. And just to reaffirm, it was being recorded. I think it's still being recorded. So we'll cut off a bit at the end, but it'll go up and just be shared for those parents that couldn't join us.